Hi, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for joining us for this webinar in the THE Student Careers Week series. I'm Jamie with THE Student, and we're very happy to have you with us today. We're also very happy to have this session with UA 92. And so without any further ado, I will hand it over to Troy Wood and the panelists from UA 92, who will spend the next 45 minutes or so talking about when classroom theory meets industry practice. Troy, over to you.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Jamie. Just echoing the words there. It's great to be here and to talk to you all. My name is Troy. I'm currently going into my third year at UA 92. I'm doing business studies. A little bit of information about me, a little bit of background, maybe aside from some of the academic stuff. I'm massively involved within the scouting movement. I was the only person in the whole of the UK to get every single badge in Beavers Clubs, Scouts and Explorers, all the way to the Duke of Edinburgh Awards as well, and then following that onto the Queen Scout Award. So by doing that, I got the opportunity to try so many different things, different activities, massively sort of getting outside my comfort zone of so many different areas. And that sort of massively shaped what I wanted to do then in terms of my sort of academic career, if you will, in terms of maybe what A levels I picked and how I ended up actually deciding to go to UA 92. And it was the approach that UA 92 takes to bridging that gap between actual academic learning and then real world, useful skills that many times you don't necessarily see until you involve yourself within that environment itself. We'll move on to some of the other introductions from our panelists.
Yeah, hi everyone. Great to be here today. I'm Courtney and I work in KPMG's corporate responsibility team. So KPMG, if you haven't heard of them before, we are a professional services firm and we specialise in audit, tax and advisory services. So we basically work with our clients to address some of their most complex business challenges. We have offices across the country, including in Manchester, and we employ around 16,000 people each year, 16,000 people in total, around 1,000 graduates and apprentices each year. We've partnered with UA 92 and have been since the very beginning, and part of my role is leading on that partnership and making sure that we connect with UA 92 students and provide them with that industry insight.
Hi, and lovely to have you all here this afternoon. My name's Aaron Saxton, and I'm the Director of Training Education at UK Fast. UK Fast is a digital business in the heart of Manchester, right where the fastest growing technical economy is taking place. Our business is right at the forefront of that. I head up everything from apprenticeships to digital training, the cloud development across our organisation, and very proud to have been partnered with UA 92 from the very beginning, co-designing, co-creating this fantastic computing curriculum. And I'm very fortunate in many ways to have been a teacher for 12 years, head of ICT across Greater Manchester. So one thing that I think I bring, not just to UK Fast, but to UA 92 is bridging the gap between industry and education as an individual who's living and breathing that. Thank you.
Hi, and just to echo everything everyone has said, really delighted to be here and to have you all join us. My name is Sarah Toledo. I am the College Director and Principal at UA 92 Global. So UA 92 Global partnered with UA 92 as an international recruiting partner for students into the brilliant programs that UA 92 offer across a range of disciplines, as you've just heard Aaron and Courtney mention, and we're really excited to be able to talk to you more about that and what makes those programs so unique and how we talk about putting theory into practice in the classroom.
So sort of moving on to the teaching approach, obviously, that UA 92 has, a few questions for Sarah. So what makes that approach so different?
Thanks, Dre. So what makes that UA 92 approach so different? UA 92 really just remains so focused in everything that they do on the person at the heart of this study journey. At UA 92, really believe in giving students the tools and challenges and the support and that confidence to become their best selves and really to push forward in their careers. Alongside academic studies, our students embark on real personal development journeys, and we'll talk about some more of that in a minute and how that looks. But it's just a way to prepare them to reach that potential and to be really ready when they graduate to hit the ground running and be career-led professionals. Typically we see in universities that universities can sometimes place academic learning at the core of what they do, but supported by employability. But by comparison, the character development and that employability is at the core of what we do. So the educational approach uses a personal development coaching program, which focuses on sort of cognitive, emotional, social intelligence skills, really focusing on that preparedness for employment. And secondly, the degrees themselves are specifically designed to accelerate those careers, you know, with industry leaders like we've just spoken to and who are going to say a lot more, degrees that will push them into the next steps and the new exciting opportunities that will be available to them when they graduate. And it's that curriculum that's really inspired by that experience and wealth of knowledge, and also with our colleagues at Lancaster University. And this means that it's just a student experience that is led by industry knowledge, it's led by industry experience, and the real world are being really embedded into the curriculum, but not only the curriculum, the environment around them, a really sort of immersive experience for students.
Oh, I mean, 100%, even in terms of the sort of 2 years that I've had there so far, that's been the biggest thing that I've noticed is every uni is going to give you a degree, and it's about what UNITU can offer you that makes that different. When you go for those interviews, when you meet people within business or whatever industries you want to go into, they want to see what makes you different, what skill sets do you have, and UNITU really does focus on that with things such as the target talent curriculum. So Sarah, how does that target talent curriculum actually benefit UNITU students?
Yeah, so it's very much around that. How does this come to life for a student? You know, how does the target talent curriculum, how does the personal development, how does that all manifest in like day-to-day life as a student? So I was thinking about this, and there are sort of 5 main kind of criteria, and I'd love to know what you think, Troy, about whether you think I've missed anything. But I think firstly, the way you learn. So we learn in these 6-week blocks. So not a long trimester, we study in 6-week blocks. And in that block, you have 5 weeks of teaching and 1 week of curriculum that is really career focused, developing those talent skills, that's focused on how you are going to progress and take what you've just learned and put it to good use. There are no big assessment periods, so you study 1 module at a time, and this is integrated into the blocks, and essentially you learn it, then you prove it as you go. Secondly was the timetable, and I think this is, you know, it's a really modern approach for a really modern student, and students will either be a morning or an afternoon student. And having that flexibility to have a really fixed curriculum and a fixed timetable where you're studying 4 days a week, you know that pattern, it gives you the flexibility on a Wednesday to get engaged with, maybe it's extra tuition, maybe it's online activities, maybe it's volunteering, or maybe it's having a job or family and life, and really just getting to balance your sort of studies and work life. Thirdly, target talent curriculum, as you mentioned. So this is a curriculum that is working to support UNITU students in developing, as I mentioned earlier, those sort of cognitive, emotional and social intelligence skills, and tying it into your education and the academia of your programs, and just really working on your preparedness for employment. And that also is not just through the curriculum, so that also is intrinsically woven into induction activities, industry engagement, industry insight days, projects, specific themed activities. Number 4, so personal development coaches. Every student will be assigned a development coach, and that coach is someone that you meet on a regular basis and you'll work with through your time at UNITU to develop a portfolio that really captures that journey and supports you in pushing forward and reaching all of your opportunities in your time at UNITU, and really being able to explain what you're doing, and just a great human to work with you and support you on that journey. And last but not least, I think the environment. The new campus opened its doors in 2019. It's a really modern environment, a really great atmosphere, but it's surrounded by innovation. It's surrounded by industry presence and expertise, a really sort of immersive opportunity for you to get stuck in and feel the experience and expertise around you in what you do. So it's this co-design approach where we are bringing other leading academics, where we are bringing industry partners into this to prepare you for a really strong career trajectory after graduation. I mean, what do you think, Troy? Did I miss anything?
No, cover them all. And it's certainly something that, you know, when you hear someone talk about this, when you actually go and experience it and really see how those different sections do function and work together. I mean, the structure has been one of the best things for me in terms of being able to, you know, build up an actual balance between doing things, you know, in and outside of uni, you know, mixing the academic stuff with, you know, outside things like you mentioned, whether that's, you know, volunteering or maybe some of you play sports and you want to continue that and you know, maybe to a really good professional level, you can do that and you can balance that really well with the structure of UNI2 and how it operates. Again, it's, as mentioned before, about you're either an AM student or a PM student, and that's your timetable throughout the time that you're there. So again, you can build up that structure around what you want to do at the university itself, and you're not going to be worried about things colliding because you know that from the start, and you can balance that within as well. You know, talking there about the actual things with TTC, the target time curriculum, I've learned so many new things from that I wouldn't have even maybe considered even looking at you know, before joining UNI2, and also seeing how that's used from an academic standpoint when you're doing your learning, but also how that's massively used within industry, you know, within the real world of work. You know, as I briefly mentioned before, it's those sort of skills that are going to make you stand out from other people, especially when you're going for interviews and things like that, because that's what a lot of other students might not have. Everybody might have a degree, but it's those other skills, it's those other like really important real world skills that UNI2 does the amazing job of balancing, that really makes a huge sort of difference there. I guess sort of finally on this sort of topic, can you tell us a little bit about how students coming by the pathway route can also benefit from this unique teaching approach?
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, we're recruiting international students into these programs through what we call pathway routes. And that's different levels of study. So whether you can come in at foundation, whether you can come out at level 1. And it is a great question, but the honest answer here, though, is that it isn't really a question of how does this also benefit the students on these pathways. You know, we have students joining UNI2 at all different levels, at all different intakes. And the truth is that the UNI2 ethos and that teaching approach isn't an add-on. It isn't something extra that is included if there's time or if we can squeeze it in here. This approach is like in the DNA of what UNI2 does. It's completely woven and embedded into everything that UNI2 does, from the curriculum and assessment design, teaching blocks, like you said, the personal character development, the academics that work so hard to deliver this, to the extracurricular, to the timetabling. It's truly within everything that this campus offers and that everything that is delivered. So in short, this is a core part of the student experience for every single student, no matter how they join us, when they join us, where they join us from, what program they choose. The approach is really, it is UA92. It's not a separate thing for those students that are on pathway.
100%. And even just forgot to mention there, the personal coach that I've had the pleasure of speaking to the past couple of years has helped me in so many, you know, ways, and whether that's getting sort of work opportunities, meeting people within industry, and like you said, some universities may seem disconnected from their students, and that isn't the case at UNI2. You know, everybody, you know, wants the best for all the students that are there, and having that personal coach there means that, you know, any problems that you may have, whether that's academic or outside of uni that you may experience, you know, someone's there for you to talk to about that and to obviously help and sort of resolve those issues. And again, even if it's just, you know, using them to make contacts, to build a network, you can certainly do that. And that's something that's been massively beneficial since it's sort of I've joined and been there. Moving on to our amazing industry partners, I'll start off with Courtney. Can you tell us a little bit around sort of why KPMG actually wanted to get involved and work so closely with the UNI2 staff and students?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, as I mentioned in my intro, so we've been partnered with UA92 since from the very beginning. And I guess there are a couple of reasons why we really wanted to get involved. So first of all, you know, KPMG is really committed to being a responsible business, and part of how we deliver on that is through our focus on social mobility and boosting opportunities for those from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. And you've heard a lot about the UA92 model and how the kind of fixed timetable of being an AM or PM student can really sort of open up other opportunities for you to kind of balance, you know, volunteering, work outside of studying, but also if you have caring responsibilities. I mean, we really see it as a way of, it's quite a unique model, and it's a way of providing access to higher education to people who, you know, perhaps previously haven't considered it. So we do sponsor UA92 social mobility strategy, and that's really focused on making sure that the innovative skills provision that UA92 does bring is a real benefit to a diverse range of people from a diverse range of backgrounds. And so I suppose that's kind of the kind of theme that runs through our partnership. But the other side of the coin is really around recognising that UA92 will play and is playing a huge part in creating work-ready graduates that will go forward and power our economy in Greater Manchester and the Northwest. And for us, you know, we can look at UA92 and see that, you know, while students are getting a very highly regarded degree, they are also really focused on the character and personal development, and that is, you know, it's at the heart of the UA92 student experience. And that really aligns with our values and our ways of working. So when we're recruiting, whether it's, you know, our apprentices, graduates, experienced hires, we're not just looking at what degree you've got, you know, what you studied, what your previous experiences are. We want to know about your values and your behaviours, and we want to see how you demonstrate that. And I think what UA92 brings is an opportunity for students to, you know, actually develop those skills but evidence them as well, because it's not just, you know, spending time developing your communication skills. It's you would have a kind of really clear example of how you've done that, and with a member of kind of industry that you've worked with to develop that particular skill. So I think it's the evidence that comes alongside it as well, is we know that if you've studied at UA92, you've had a fantastic grounding in that skills development. So I think, you know, it's when we look at and when we talk about work-ready graduates, it is that focus on the character development, the essential skills development that creates that work-ready piece. The degree creates the graduate, the work readiness comes from that focus on skills development, and that's something that we see as being really unique to what UA92 actually offer.
Hugely, and even the benefit. I mean, I've had some fantastic opportunities to come to KPMG, the office in Manchester, and take part in workshops and meet people that work there. And, you know, again, I knew it was an accounting and finance firm, but I didn't know the in-depth of what a business like that entails. And again, you know, you look at such a large business like that, and, you know, I may have been able to name maybe 10 different jobs, but I got the opportunity to see the hundreds of jobs that are available there. And that allows students to, you know, maybe change their opinion on what they want to do and what sort of career they want to go into. And having the ability to have such a close partnership, you know, with you guys like that allows students to really figure those things out as part of that degree, you know, as they learn and improve throughout that sort of 3-year journey. Having the opportunity to be so close to these, you know, huge businesses is a massive advantage, you know, for any student partaking on that. Let's move on to Aaron. In your opinion, what do you feel is the most important skill that UA92 students develop to ensure that they are actually career ready?
I think everybody's been shouting it loud and clear, even yourself, Troy. And I loved hearing your intro and that the Duke of Edinburgh, you've got every scout accolade on the planet by the sound of things, has been a key driver and motivation for your development, your pathway, and the choices you've made. And it comes down to this huge piece around character development, doesn't it? And it's the skills that you can't teach, or the skills that most universities or academic institutions are afraid to teach and afraid to attribute value to. You know, I've taught all of my life, and no school, no educational institution attributes value to being a great communicator, networking. You know, when things aren't right and things are going wrong, how do you pick yourself up? Where's that resilience piece? How do you communicate with customers? How do you set goals? So for me, what UA92 do incredibly well is looking at those behaviors, those traits, those characteristics, but most importantly, that attitude. I sit on as a trustee for the Dartmouth Sports Foundation. It's all about using sport as a vehicle to drive performance. And I believe world-class performance doesn't just happen on the track or on the football pitch, it happens in every walk of life. And we've just had, I don't want to name drop, we've just had a young lady, Amy Pratt, been working with from about the age of 12, 13, 10-year journey. She's just qualified for Tokyo 2020 in steeplechase. Second British all-time record. And the reason why I highlight this young lady, linking this to what UA92 are doing, is when she ran on that track for the first time when she was 12 or 13, it wasn't a physical ability, it wasn't how fast she was running, it was her attitude, how brave she was, how confident, how passionate she is, and then utilizing all of those core attributes to drive her performance in her sport. UA92 do that incredibly well. It's the most important skill in driving performance in their courses, their skills, and making them career ready. That's what I need in my business, more of them.
Amazing. I mean, that's a big thing there. Mentality, the mindset around stuff. Like you said, it's not just sports related at all in that regard. It's every industry, it's every job, it's every environment you can get yourself in, and being able to see that. And as Sarah was mentioning earlier, and even Courtney, the way that it's assessed, it's almost like you've got an assessed piece of content that shows you're a good communicator because you've had to go out and do it and experience it and show resilience. And obviously, as Aaron was saying there, that, from an employability standpoint, there's skills that if you've not done at all and suddenly you're sort of maybe 22, 23 going into sort of jobs, you're a bit lost. And UA92 allows you to obviously pinpoint that degree, focus on those different outside of the academics. Even as much as the academics is incredibly important, it gives that amazing balance that, again, I've not seen another university do that. You mentioned before about the scouting stuff. That was the biggest reason why I chose UA92. It was the fact that I could go into something, into an environment where I knew that I was genuinely really benefiting over the 3 years. It wasn't just a case of, I'm going to do a degree because I want to do I'm going to go and do a degree because I think it's the right thing to do. I wanted to go and do a degree and really benefit over that 3 year sort of period. And, it's not failed so far. And I've absolutely, loved the 2 years that I've had, and look forward to the third one starting in September. We're going back to Courtney. Can you tell us a little bit about how KPMG is actually involved within the student curriculum, how they sort of shape the sort of degree process itself?
Yeah, absolutely. And it really does kind of span across everything Sarah was talking through earlier, in that, we do try to have sort of really broad impact with UA92 students and work with them in a variety of different ways. So I suppose kind of top level, so our partner sponsor at the KPMG side for our partnership with UA92 sits on the UA92 advisory board. So supports with things like sort of strategic direction, but also, what shaping the curriculum going forward, what courses might be offered in the next kind of year or so, and how to, more effectively and actively engage with more industry partners across the Northwest. Right down to kind of some of the work that I'm doing on a day-to-day, where I'm working directly with UA92 to look ahead into the curriculum and see, right, how can KPMG support to develop that curriculum? How can we support to, embed kind of industry best practice? And how can we provide opportunities to sort of bring what students are learning to life in really practical ways through industry experiences? So one thing that I'm really proud of is that every kind of year that we've been working with UA92 so far is that we provided opportunities for every single UA92 student, regardless of whether they're accounting and finance and business, media studies, PE, to engage with KPMG, learn a bit about what we do and the kind of breadth of opportunities in the professional services sector, but also opportunities to develop their skills as well. So Troy, I think you mentioned about coming to our offices. We've always loved hosting students, and they've always, so far really good feedback, loved coming to see us as well. So it's always nice. But we've done a variety of things, from world of work visits. It just gives a real insight into our kind of day-to-day work, and the opportunity to network and meet with our colleagues and hear about the kind of journeys that they've gone on to become to work in professional services. Alongside that, we've run workshops that are really focused on sort of bringing some of those essential skills to life, set students project challenges where they can work on real life client briefs, We've also hosted masterclasses and guest lectures on campus. And I suppose the bit that, we'll continue to do all of that stuff, but what we're looking to do for the next academic year is to make sure that all year 3 students have access to an industry mentor, and KPMG are really willing to support that. And the second piece being as well, actually offering some work tasters, so having students come into our office for a couple of days up to a week and getting some hands-on experience working with us, the opportunity to shadow our colleagues, find out about the work that we do, but also how we use some of those essential skills as part of our day-to-day role as well. Because I think it's that opportunity and exposure that really kind of brings it to life, and kind of you can understand the importance of it as well as you're looking ahead to your future careers.
Massively. Some of my friends that I made on the accounting and finance course, some of their decisions early on was whether they wanted to go into a business the size of KPMG, what was that environment like, and what's it like working there, and being able to go, like you said, and experience that. I mean, one of the best things that I really enjoyed was as part of the TTC week was when we got to interview employees at KPMG. I think it was on we did a few different topics, but one of them was professionalism. Again, that stemmed into so many other topics when doing that particular interview. But even then, being able to, like you said, find out their pathways, their journeys to that particular job, what they've done, what skill sets they've developed, what they think's useful, what they see every single day within that environment, that UNITED students get the opportunity to sort of learn a little bit before maybe most people would sort of learn and see that stuff, and then try and develop that into their own lives, their own journeys, their own pathways ahead, and sort of plan, be a few steps ahead. And I said I've really noticed that massively, even only over the last sort of couple of years or so. So going back to Aaron, how can you tell us about the value that early exposure to apprenticeships and organizational structure brings to actual student development?
In many ways, yourself and Courtney have just touched on it loads there, haven't you, in terms of that going to the office and visiting and engaging with people in roles and jobs, and fundamentally for me what it comes down to is it's sparking an interest and opening people's eyes, and you just touched on it, Troy, to different opportunities, different pathways, and that's what that exposure does. And just today, just at lunchtime today, I had a young man finish his software development apprenticeship. A few years down the line, I spotted him 4 years ago at St. John Rugby College, and he was ready for university. And there's this perception that university in its raw current format is the perfect pathway for people. As you know, I work in tech. The best, and you've talked a lot, the best way of learning tech is by doing, and you've all touched on that. Break, do, explode, grow, whatever it might be in tech. I've taken a few cloud platforms off in my time, but don't tell anybody. But it's the best way of learning. And when I opened his eyes to the apprenticeship opportunity at UK Fast, he visited the offices. He saw what the environment was like. It's exciting. There are real tech engineers, Jedi masters doing the job. These are the people I want to learn from, Aaron, not you. And the rest is history. It's about it's that catalyst, that spark and opportunity. And I won't mention his name because it wouldn't be fair, but this young man is 22. So he's 22. He's on a really good salary. I think I can say he's on £36,000. He's already got his own house, no debt, his own car, and he's already looking to propel his career to move to a senior engineer, deploying multi-million-pound cloud platforms at 22. And for me, that's what that sparking that interest in his eyes 4 years ago did to him now.
Amazing. I mean, that's you touched on that, the fact that you've got to be excited about doing stuff, and then the best way that you're going to do that is just by giving stuff a go, trying it. That's what I wanted to get out of this, was just give everything a go, say yes to almost every opportunity as long as it's safe and fine to do so. And that was my sort of approach. And doing a course like business, that's exactly what business is. I've got to go out and see that and see how these companies work and how people work in teams, and how that structure is sort of led. And you don't necessarily just get that by staring at books in a classroom. And that's what UNITED do, sort of, again, bridges that gap from getting that formal academic university degree at the end of it, but also sort of almost bridging it with an apprenticeship style thing with all the opportunities that you get from real massive global businesses as a whole there. So getting back to Courtney, what would you rate Manchester as a cosmopolitan city in terms of employability within the UK?
Yeah, that is it's a really good question. So I I guess when you look at Manchester, it is, it's the North's biggest city. It's one of the largest economic areas in the UK outside of London. And, as I think Erin said at the beginning, we've got the fastest growing digital economy. There's been a huge amount of regeneration and development in and around Manchester in recent years. And I think that's really cemented Manchester as the financial and business hub of the UK. I suppose if we look at kind of digital media, so Manchester's home to Media City, so the largest purpose-built media location in Europe and home to over 8,000 digital and creative businesses, spanning from like huge multinational organizations to small startups. So there's a real kind of diverse mix there. And I suppose as well, that's always kind of promising when you're looking at a city is when we're seeing organisations relocate their businesses outside of London into some of our regional cities. So, for example, TalkTalk are a great example of this, where they moved their headquarters from London to Salford, and they're also another industry partner of UA92. And I guess in sort of my role, and you think of KPMG, we our clients are other businesses from your FTSE 350 to kind of NHS, universities. We've got a real broad mix. And one thing I find is that there's a really kind of tight-knit business community in Greater Manchester and the Northwest. And there's a lot of collaboration and shared best practice. And I think, not only are there lots of employment opportunities and opportunities in a real wide range of sectors, we do see a lot of engagement, and you are seeing those businesses represented across UA92's partner network as well. And, if they're not an industry partner, then there'll be an industry partner that's connected with them and will be able to kind of facilitate introductions. And I think that's one thing, kind of my reflection of, I moved from London to the North a few years ago, and it's definitely from a work perspective, that sort of business network and the sort of local engagement and business engagement in sort of young people and community issues, I think is really, really strong here. So great sort of opportunities if you're looking for your kind of graduate job, but also great opportunities to engage with businesses while you're studying as well. And Troy, I'm sure you can share a lot around what it's like to be a student in Manchester, because it is a great place to live and work, and there's just so much to offer.
Yeah, not going from a bit of a biased standpoint, because I lived there for all my life, but best city in the UK for sure. But like in terms of, especially for even the degrees that UA92 does, every single one that is, there's mass opportunities within Manchester. Even if you touched on the the media city, the sporting connect, United City, the cricket ground, everything, and it's all within a 15-minute thing of public transport from the uni and also from the accommodation itself. So yeah, as far as the city goes, it's almost it's like being involved in London probably 20-30 years ago. It's like just at that peak where it's about to explode, and there's so many amazing opportunities within Manchester, and people doing degrees within Manchester, moving into Manchester, will therefore get the opportunity to then obviously probably end up sort of living here and really making the most out of that explosion that we'll see Manchester sort of have in the next 10 or 15 years or so for sure. But back to Aaron, having yourself co-designed a UA92 computer curriculum, can you elaborate a little bit on the importance of how business and educators can collaborate further in order to create talent that really does meet the demands of the digital skills labour market?
Brilliant. Well, first of all, I'm really pleased to hear that we reinforce the message that Manchester is the greatest city because of Manchester United and the red side of Manchester. I'm glad we got clarity there, no bias, but that's a really important point I need to make. But joking aside, Courtney, you touched on Media City, you've got AWS and Google, all these big blue chip companies now are here in the heart of the greatest footballing city in the world. Sorry to drop that in there again, but genuinely the opportunity is incredible. And I think one thing, I came out of education into industry to run education. Why? Because there is a disconnect between the speed at which curriculum updates and in line with the needs of the digital economy changes too quickly. So one thing I think has been absolutely incredible and fabulous by having this relationship is being able to advise and consult and point the curriculum in the correct direction. So just to give you sort of a little nugget and an idea, everybody talks about cloud, don't they? Oh, I've got my data in the cloud and my website's in the cloud. and we design apps in software development, and that's what we know and understand. But actually, in my industry, our industry, when you talk about code and software development, it's infrastructure as code, it's containers using things like Puppet and Chef, things you probably never heard of. And you think, what the heck is Saxton doing here? He's giving us a lesson here, and that's not the idea. The point being is, this is what we do day to day. This is what our customers demand. This is how we need to serve our digital economy. Me providing this advice and helping to shape that curriculum and have that connection narrows that bridge, brings the academics much closer to what we need as employees, who can serve the right technology to our consumers. And that is special.
No, it's massive. I mean, that's something that, again, even having Microsoft on campus as well, again, within that field, it's allowing huge global companies to have a say on what we learn and how we apply that. It's learn the academics, and then, see how that's tailored and applied to real businesses that are literally 15-20 minutes away from the doorstep of U92 itself. And that is massively noticeable, through being there. I mean, I'd heard all this before I obviously joined, and it sounded great, it sounded amazing, but from, having the experience and really seeing it, it is 100% there, and it definitely it's given me so many amazing insights into those different worlds. I'm massively excited into tech as well, and having the ability to have those close connections with U92 has allowed me to explore areas that I hadn't even thought of before joining the uni itself. So no, it's incredible. And then finally, for Sarah, going a little bit back to the sort of teaching, how is the academic team at U92 constantly evolving and improving the academic experience? And again, obviously, that process involves other key stakeholders, again, KPMG, UK Fast, Talks, and the ones we've mentioned, and again, other industry partners as well.
I'm sure, sort of looking around the virtual room here at my colleagues, everyone would agree that the academic team do an incredible job at U92 in bringing all of these things together. They're quite simply amazing, and they're constantly striving to enhance that. It's a constant battle to just keep enhancing it, block by block, not year on year. It is, week and block by block. And that is, it's not just the delivery for students, the experience for academics and the experience for our partners, and to just make sure that we're giving as many experiences for everyone to grow and develop and for their futures. But what I've really noticed, and you might think I'm crazy, but what I've really noticed about this team is just how much they're looking backwards. Bear with me. But the team here are always looking back, and they're constantly reviewing and reflecting on everything that we do, from the industry insight days to the attainment of students to all of the really valuable student voices and the feedback that they get on whether it's guest speakers or whatever it is we've been doing. They're constantly looking back and going, what's the next step? What's the next level that we can take this to? What's the next opportunity we can push this forward onto? And they're just scouring that information and just bringing the best opportunities back to the table. And it's just all about this ethos about thinking bigger, thinking bolder. And Aaron, you were saying it earlier about when you were talking about sort of sporting excellence, what's the next step? What does the future look like? And how do we get there? And I think what that just really says is about really living that ethos that we're delivering, being reflective, learning, and just pushing things forward to just bring more opportunity to the area, to the institution, to students, and just to the education sector. In answer to your second question, and I think Courtney has explained it a lot already and just said how much industry partners are involved in that curriculum design. That is intrinsic in everything. It is making sure that all stakeholders are heard and making sure that students are heard and academics, and that it is a really, really representative and engaged conversation, so that we really are co-designing excellence by just getting everyone's opinions and really, again, coming back to looking to the future. What is next, and what's that next level that we need to take it to give students the best opportunity to be those career-led graduates that are ready for the working world.
Yeah, just I hear that, Sarah, from a student's sort of perspective. At the end of it, obviously, but at the end of every single teaching block, at the end of every single TTC, all students get the opportunity to voice their opinions on obviously how that block went, how the academic side was, what we enjoyed. Did we enjoy the speakers that came in? Do we want more speakers? Do we want more? Whatever video, whatever that is, we've got the opportunity to voice our opinions over that and then see it be implemented in the next sort of block, as you said, constantly ever changing and evolving. I've seen that firsthand and it has been incredible. I guess just to sort of conclude this whole thing, it's been an amazing conversation. Thoroughly sort of enjoyed it. From my opinion at UNITED, it's definitely emphasized the importance of self-growth for me and personal development. Again, looking at those skills that, public speaking, teamwork, communication, resilience, leadership, those things that I wouldn't have necessarily, obviously I'd heard of them, I knew what they were, but seeing it involved in a real setting, I'd never seen that before until going to UNITED. So again, amazing opportunity for any potential students looking to join an incredible university, and that obviously is UNITED. Any advice maybe that I'd give to any students looking at coming here? Follow your gut instinct with this. If you found this conversation enjoyable, if you found it intriguing, if you've been inspired by it, spend a bit of time on the UNITED website, reach out to people, reach out to students that are there. Now there's opportunity to do that and speak to current students and again, ask them questions, ask as many questions as possible and really find out if UNITED is the best fit for you, because if it is, you'll have an amazing 3 years and you'll come out much more prepared for the world of work than most of the students that are around. So no, amazing. Thank you so much for listening and being a part with us today.
Thank you so much, Troy, Courtney, Sarah, and Aaron. What a great discussion. And I think the team has done a great job of answering a lot of the questions that came in as we went along. So that's wonderful. You'll see on the screen now contact information and ways to get additional information should you have questions still to be answered. And of course, UA92 will follow up with you directly to provide additional information. We are just about out of time, but a final thanks to the audience for joining us today and for being a part of this session. THU Student Careers Week carries on through the rest of the week. We've got another session in about an hour and 20 minutes with some representatives from University Career Services offices to discuss the resources and services that universities provide to international students. We'll also talk a little bit about post-study work visa policies in Canada and the UK specifically. So definitely tune in for that one. And then we've got 2 additional sessions tomorrow as well. In addition to all of the content on our website, editorial content providing tips for interview questions and digital networking and all kinds of advice as far as employability and careers goes. So definitely visit timeshighereducation.com/student for more Careers Week content. A final thank you to the UA92 Global team. We're delighted to have worked with you on this event, and we'll see you all next time at the next THE student session. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.